Hey guys, hope you're all well and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going over my lower body training from a couple of weeks ago. It was quite a low volume leg day, only consisting of 3 movements: a hack squat with a reverse band, good mornings, and seated hamstring curls. So we'll start off with the hack squats. So you'll notice there's a little pole on the back of the machine and there's a band wrapped around that connected to where I add the plates, okay? That's just to improve the resistance profile of the actual machine itself. So if you want to think about it, with a hack squat, the resistance profile is quite poor in the fact that when you come down to that deep squat, there's a lot of tension there and you're very weak in that position, whereas up top, your joints are stacked and you're in a much stronger position. So when you want to think about it, when you come down into that squat, which we'll see in a second here, when I come back down to that squat, the band starts to gain a lot of tension. That bottom position where I'm generally weaker is aided and assisted, where that top position, the band kind of becomes loose and it's purely the weight from the plate. So where I need extra help, there's tension given, and where I'm stronger, it's kind of taken away. So it means that instead of going from really easy to really hard to really easy to really hard, it means that the top's now easy and the bottom's now easy. When you start loading weight, all of a sudden the top becomes hard and the bottom becomes hard. So the resistance profile is very even throughout the entire movement. So let's finish up on the topic of hack squats by talking about why they're so important for your quad development. Alright, so let's think of some kind of standard squatting movement like a barbell back squat, for example. Okay, so because of how the bar is even placed, a lot of that load isn't directly transferred onto the quads. A lot of it goes to the glutes, the lower back, upper back, okay? Whereas with a hack squat, because your back is supported on the bench, your knees are allowed to come into a much greater degree of flexion than you otherwise would have on a barbell back squat, meaning your quads are working through a greater range of motion, but more importantly, B, they're working through a greater active range. So that quad is loaded heavily from the weight from the machine and the bands, meaning it's getting a lot more work done quad directly from a hack squat than you would get in like a traditional barbell back squat. Next up, I had a barbell good morning. Now, I want to talk about the difference between a barbell good morning and a barbell RDL, because in terms of movement pattern wise, they're the exact same. So it's a hip hinging movement, meaning that our lower back staying straight, our knees are getting a slight bend, and all the movements coming from our hips. So a lot of the load is going to the hamstrings and the glutes, okay? However, the only difference in the two movements will be the bar placement. So because the bar is placed on my back in a good morning, it means the lever arm is a lot longer and a lot more tension goes to my lower back, meaning I'm not going to be able to place as much load on the hamstrings and glutes. Whereas with a barbell RDL, because the barbell is so close to me and where it's positioned, I can afford to handle a lot more load. And that means I can then overload the hamstrings and overload the glutes and get a lot more work done. So if it's down to development of your hamstrings and glutes, I'd vouch more for a barbell RDL compared to a good morning. Looking at this seated hamstring curl, let's talk all about setup. So I had a client report back to me a couple of weeks ago that they were experiencing some pain and discomfort when performing a seated hamstring curl, which obviously wasn't ideal. So she was saying that, she couldn't feel her hamstring working because she was so focused on the pain in the knee and she had to stop eventually, which obviously, like I said, there isn't ideal and we want to get out of that situation as much as possible. So we assessed her setup first thing, which generally tends to be the root of most issues. So when performing any kind of lower body movement on a machine that rotates around the knee joint and kind of puts you into extension and flexion of the knee joint itself, you want your knee in line with the axis of the machine. Okay, so the axis of the machine is that little bolt at which the lever arm rotates around. That means that the axis of the machine is in line with the axis of your body, meaning that the lever arm of the machine is in line with the lever arm of your lower leg, so your tibia. That means that all the forces applied from the machine are going to be aligned with the forces kind of produced from your leg. So all the forces from the machine are going to go into your hamstring as opposed to any kind of harmful forces on the knee joint itself. Let's discuss the goal of a seated hamstring curl. So the seated hamstring curl and the lying hamstring curl differ massively in terms of the ranges at which you're working into. For example, a lying hamstring curl will be more shortened range focused, whereas a seated one like I'm performing here is going to be more focused on your lengthened range, okay? So we're going to do whatever we can to work our hamstrings into that lengthened range. So what we're going to do is we're going to flex the hips, okay? So our hamstring controls 2 things, that kind of extension and flexion of the knee joint, and then hip flexion. It aids in the hip flexion. So by flexing at the hip joint like I am here, so I'm not lying back onto the seat, I'm actually sitting forward, rotating from my hip joint itself. It means that as I come into that stretch position, I can get my hamstrings into a much more, lengthened position than I would if I was lying back. So just thought I'd leave you guys with a little tip towards the end of the video since you've made it this far, and that is, if you ever record a set in the gym and you see that your face in the first rep and the last rep look the exact same, then you can probably go a lot harder, be it adding another rep, another few reps, adding more weight, or slowing down the movement itself. You can do a lot more to make that movement a lot tougher. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video up until this point. If you feel like you've benefited in any way from anything I've said or anything you've seen from the video, do get in touch. I'd love to hear from you guys at CoachBud on Instagram or danreespersonaltraining@gmail.com if you want to email me. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time.